Right now at 4, the ceiling is high for the Broncos' new ownership group.
The big vision is we want to win football championships.
We take you live to the UC Health Training Center as we hear from the team's new owner for the first time.
With 10% of child care centers permanently closed, the ones that are left are struggling to fill in the gaps. The help that could encourage more lower-cost home daycares to open. And inflation is putting a new focus on pay-what-you-can restaurants, how this concept is growing nationwide.
Plus, a Colorado woman was planning for the future with the man of her dreams.
This is just like the most painful, saddest thing I've ever experienced.
But a road rage shooting took his life, and that shooter is still out there.
There's consequences to your actions, and it's senseless, and you can't live a life like that.
Thank you for watching Denver 7 News at 4. I'm Micah Smith. We begin with 2 breaking stories happening right now. First, in Arvada, fire crews have contained several small fires that forced evacuations. Now, this is along Highway 72 west of Indiana Street near the train tracks. Thankfully, no homes were impacted. 15 acres burned. A Denver police officer has been arrested on charges of luring a child on the internet. 45-year-old Timothy Hyatt turned himself in to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office this morning. The county's CHIZO unit says their investigation began back in February when Hyatt began communication with who he thought was a 14-year-old girl. Deputies say Hyatt made many sexually explicit advances toward the girl through several social media sites. Hyatt is on unpaid administrative leave by DPD. Well, for the first time in 38 years, the Broncos have a new owner. Today, that new ownership group addressed the media for the first time. Denver 7's Broncos insider Troy Rank joins us live from the UC Health Training Center. And Troy, there are big expectations for the Broncos.
Yeah, Micah, they ushered in a new era out here at UC Health Training Center as the Walton Penner Group arrived. They watched part of practice and then they held a press conference answering questions. But before that, Rob Walton revealed that Greg Penner will serve as the CEO. Greg Penner is the son-in-law of Rob Walton. They also talked about the vision. I had a chance to ask Greg Penner about what vision was articulated to the players today, and Melody Hobson said she can relate to the players and their journey. Let's hear from them both.
The big vision is we want to win football championships. We want to do it in the right way, and so that's the first place that you got to start is with the people. And again, on the football side, we couldn't be more excited about what we have with George, Nathaniel, Russell in place. There's an appropriate amount of patience, but we will hold ourselves accountable.
I also want to acknowledge the bond that I feel with the players who, like me, have had to overcome a lot in their lives. And I know the amount of focus and discipline that it has taken for them to get here. I also know all of the people, the family at home, the community that they are responsible for.
Yeah, it is an impressive group. It's an exciting time, Micah, with all the change that has gone on, but there are other roles to fill. Greg Penner said today he needs to name a team president. Could that be someone like Peyton Manning or even John Elway? We'll have more about that coming up at 5. Back to you in the studio.
Oh, Peyton Manning would be a game changer. Well, Troy has an in-depth look at this new Broncos ownership group and the diversity it brings with it. We have that for you right now on thedenverchannel.com. It's been 10 days since a driver killed a 31-year-old man on I-70 in Denver in what appears to have been a random road rage shooting. Today, Denver 7's Patrick Perez sat down with the victim's fiance. Kevin Piaskowski and Tamara Holton had just gotten engaged 2 months ago and were already planning their wedding. Tamara says it's been difficult going to sleep and waking up without Kevin by her side. The outpouring of support from her family, friends, and community. So what's gotten her through the hardest parts, but through the sadness, there's also anger because of what the driver did to Kevin and because they're still free.
It's just so unfair. It was so senseless, and I'm going to bed alone and living in this house alone because Kevin was in the way.
Denver police say Kevin's killer ran from the scene shortly after crashing the stolen truck he was driving during the shooting. Investigators are desperate for tips to find the person responsible. If you have any information about this, call Crime Stoppers. Denver police are looking for any information connected to the murder of a 14-year-old boy. Josias Jojo Aragon was found dead at the Southwest Rec Center on West Saratoga Place yesterday afternoon. He would have turned 15 today. Police say Jojo has signs of trauma on his body but would not elaborate. Coming up on Denver 7 News at 5, we speak to relatives of Jojo who want answers to what happened here.
Inflation is finally cooling off a bit. Prices grew 8.5% in July compared to 2021. That's according to new numbers out today. That's a slower pace than what we saw in May or June, but it's still close to a 40-year high.
The big takeaway is that it's possible that inflation is slowing down, and we're not kind of out of the woods yet, I would say, but I think it gives everyone, including the markets, a sigh of relief.
Falling gas prices are the biggest reason for the slowdown. While the cost of food, medical care, and housing all went up in July, the price of gas fell almost 8%. The change could eventually have an impact on other prices.
Many consumers anchor their expectations to these gas prices. The easing of the consumer budgets due to falling oil prices kind of allows them to maybe spend more freely.
Going forward, leaders are not relying on low gas prices to cool off inflation. The Fed is likely to raise interest rates again next month. The move makes it more expensive for people and businesses to borrow money. Previous rate hikes this year have led to slowdowns in the job and housing markets. Backups at U.S. ports and supply chain challenges aren't over yet. But a pilot project now involving 36 companies that's aimed at easing those bottlenecks is moving forward. The U.S. Transportation Department says today that the companies have started exchanging supply chain data. It says the number of companies involved has doubled since the pilot was announced back in March. A major credit score provider is now planning to exclude all medical debts and collections from its credit scores. VantageScore tells the Wall Street Journal it expects the change to happen in October. The change goes beyond a recent move by Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion to remove many medical collections from credit reports. The three companies own VantageScore. A company executive says they decided to remove all medical collections after finding they aren't a good predictor of how likely someone is to repay other debts. Now, we know the challenges parents face when trying to find affordable child care. Some child care centers say they want to expand, but they're facing roadblocks.
Banks want a large down payment. They also don't see the struggles of child care in the sense that our revenue doesn't look the same as a restaurant does.
The changes they're pushing for to fix this.
Colorado is leading the way in helping our kids breathe cleaner air. After the break, we show you the new fleet of buses meant to help and put money back into schools.